Hello, I am Connie Herman, the Nobody's Perfect coordinator at the Saskatchewan Prevention Institute. The Saskatchewan Prevention Institute provides services to all those living on Treaty Lands 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, the ancestral territories of the Nahiawak, Nahithawak, Nahinawak, Ananeshbek, Nakaway, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, Dene, and the homeland of the Métis. We recognize that these lands are currently inhabited by Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, including many other First Nations and Inuit people, and acknowledge the importance of the treaties, the lasting impacts of colonizations, and continued inequities. We are dedicated to moving forward on a shared path of reconciliation and partnership. We are all treaty people and are grateful to live, work, and play on this land. The Supporting Parents webinar series focuses on topics to help parents and caregivers learn how to create environments that can help children to thrive. These webinars can be used as part of parenting groups or can be used by parents and caregivers independently. We use a variety of strategies such as interactive activities and tips to enhance capacity to raise healthy, safe, and happy children. We are excited today to have Kelly Bluen joining us. Kelly is also known as Granny Willow. Join us for a journey with Granny Willow as she talks about her experiences working with all ages of community members about the topic of residential schools, traditional teachings, and resiliency. Thank you so much for joining us today, Granny Willow.
I'd like to extend a big welcome to everyone today. I would like to say thank you to Connie and Jackie from the Saskatchewan Prevention Institute for inviting me here. I am so grateful. I would like to acknowledge that I'm on Treaty 5 territory, the ancestral lands of Indigenous peoples and the Métis. I honor the connection that our people have had to our land, respecting our past, our present, and our future. I ask that I share my knowledge in a good way. I ask that all of you open your mind and heart as you listen to my story, and that you can reflect and think about how you walk your journey and where it may lead you. Today is a new day. It is a gift, and that is why it is called the present. Before I begin my teachings, I do a smudge. And today I'm just going to show you all how I do that. So I have a cedar medicine that this was gifted to me. I have sage medicine that I picked myself. Here's the cedar and here's the sage. I have a big bundle of it here. I picked this in northern Manitoba. I also have sweetgrass that I picked myself about an hour away from me. And I have tobacco that I grew on my own. And I use that in my smudge. So what I do is I take the bowl and I light it. It has to be a shell or a clay pot that won't burn. I'm using this today just because it's a beautiful handmade heart dish that somebody gave me. And I smudge, I let it make a smoke. And I ask that I have good thoughts, think good things, that I see good things, that I say good things, that I hear good things, that I do good things. And when I smudge, that goes before me and brings about positivity, releases anything that doesn't serve me. If I am in a situation where I can't smudge, if possibly there's a smoke detector or something, I'll use a spray. And this was gifted to me as well. And it has sage in it. It can be cedar that is put in a pot and simmered. And then the water is used to make a spray. In here, I see a little bit of the sage medicine that's in there. So, and then we just spray and basically do the same thing. We bring that in. Oftentimes when I speak, I have a talking stick, and the talking stick represents the speaking the truth. And today I speak my truth. And whoever holds that talking stick is the person that is speaking. So today I'm doing the talk, and I will speak my truth. The eagle feather represents truth. So why am I here? I sometimes ask myself this question, and what makes us do the things that we do? When I do my teachings, I tell the kids, the youth, the adults, that we all have a purpose on this earth, great or small. We may not know our purpose until we're an old grandmother, like me. And some might learn their purpose from a very young age. Today, I'm going to talk about how I found my purpose and how that purpose is evolving as I go. Thanks for being a part of my journey as a Métis woman, grandmother, a hoop dance instructor, a cultural knowledge holder, a storyteller, a nobody's perfect parenting trainer and facilitator. I hope to be able to make a difference. So today I'm going to introduce you to my good friend Everest. He works with me on my journey of teaching, and I'll let Everest be here while I grab a little something. Everest is such a good helper. I want to talk about the starfish poem. I was introduced to the starfish poem early on in my home visiting career. And in that career, I was able to be a believer in people. At the time, the people that I worked with were, it was called like higher risk situations. And right from the beginning, I knew that that word, I don't know if it's still being used, but I know that we can all be high risk at certain times of our lives. We walk this path in life, and we can all fall down. And it's how we get back up and how we're supported that makes the difference. So this poem is called the Starfish Poem. So this is how it goes. I'll just give you a quick overview. So there's a little boy. He's by the ocean, and he's picking up starfish, and he's throwing them back in as they are washed up on the beach. One by one, he throws them back in. And then there's maybe an old granny like me, and I'm walking on the beach, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, what is he doing? Why would he do that? That's just going to be a waste of time. So I go up to him and I say, little boy, what are you doing? And the little boy says, I'm throwing back the starfish into the ocean. And I say, well, why are you doing that? It's a waste of time. You're not gonna save them. You can't possibly save them all. And he says, I saved that one. And that story hit me really hard when I was doing my trainings. And I share it every time I do a facilitation, because we as people, we don't have to save the world, but we can make a difference for just one. And that's what I hope to do today. I like to tell stories about moments in my life that have made a difference. The moments where not just my mind are awakened, but my spirit. Spirit has led me to the best places on my journey. Before I began my journey as a Métis storyteller, I had a dream. And in my dream, I walked into a room, and there was a raven. And the raven wasn't moving. It was laying down, and it had a white cloth around its beak. I took it outside to bury it, thinking it had passed away. And as I opened the door, all of a sudden, that raven, I took off the white on its beak, and that raven started to fly. I was a little bit worried about that dream. So I had asked an elder what it meant. I was a little afraid, to tell you the truth. And she said, "Don't be afraid. Raven is good medicine." She said that it meant that I can now speak. I have my voice. I was given the name, the spirit name, Snow Crystal Raven Woman. Snow crystal for the innocence of the kids I work with and the work I do, and the raven because of my dream. I was told once that we shouldn't say our name, our spirit name out loud. And then I was also told by an elder that there was so many times that we had to not be able to speak. And yes, we can share our spirit names. My next story brings me to the Yukon. I was co-facilitating a Nobody's Perfect Parenting facilitator training there. And I had the role of incorporating some Indigenous content. As a facilitator in a new part of the world, I immersed myself in the community. I tried to meet as many people as I could. I walked the river. I explored their part of Mother Earth. I met families. I was able to see who the people of the area were, the grassroots. It was beautiful. I wore my regalia. I had my puppet Everest with me, taking pictures along the way. I had families come and talk with me, and the kids would say, "I am Crow." Other kids would say, "I'm Wolf Clan." And these moments were changing moments for me. I remember asking them, "Well, how do you know? How do you know who you are?" They shared that they follow their mother's lineage. So you might be asking, why does that matter? Well, the term is moiety. Many Yukon communities attended the training, and they reminded us that we must share who we are, where we come from, and to give time for this sharing, as it is valuable. We all have a purpose on this earth, and we must remember our past so we can be present and work towards our future. This was a beautiful awakening for me. It was a gift that I brought with me from the Yukon, and something that I continue to work on as I walk my path. And at this time, if you could share where you're from, I would like to honor that gift of moiety. You matter. Before I move on to my next story, I would like to share the teaching of wisdom. Beaver represents wisdom in the 7 grandfather teachings. Beaver reminds us that we need to take deep breaths as we dive into the water. Beaver helps us to remember to use our thinking brain. And we all know that breathing helps us calm our brains. So Beaver dives into the water, and when he comes out, he has his tail that he's able to slap. And if he sees anything that is worrisome, he can slap his tail and alert others to danger. Beaver brings all of the animals to his surroundings. He creates a wonderful ecosystem. Beaver teaches us wisdom. Thank you, Beaver, for your gift of wisdom. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that has done this, but as I went through life, I didn't ask too many questions about who I was, nationality-wise. I grew up, well, I was born in the 60s, where times were different. And in my family, we didn't share about our Indigenous ancestry outside of the home too often. I lost my father when I was in my early 20s to addiction, and I lost the ability to ask my mom for answers to my questions when I was in my 40s. as my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's took away her memory. The time that I had to ask all of my questions was taken up by my busy life of being a mom and being a caregiver. So my investigation for moiety is ongoing. So I was blessed to have a grandmother. I called her Granny, who instilled my love for my Indigenous side of my family. And to her, I am forever grateful. I honor my late Granny Amelia in all of my work, and I have been told that she stands beside me. This was told to me by a child when I was doing one of my teachings. He was Indigenous, and he told me that I had a grandmother standing beside me. When he told me that, I nodded my head and I smiled because I knew this all along. I feel her. I feel her presence. I'm going to do another teaching on Bear. Bear reminds us that we can call on courage. We are not able to give our courage away, and we can't take anybody's courage. We have to call on our own courage. I have to say, courage, I need you right now. A mama bear will protect her cubs at any cost if anybody comes for her cubs. And that's one good way to remember the gift of courage. Thank you, Bear, for your courage. I call on these gifts when I'm doing my teachings because I can't do it alone. I'm going to share some family history, and afterwards I'll talk about how it pertains to my story. So on my non-Indigenous side, I come from a long line of people that have made history in Canada. Some of my ancestors are Susanna Moody. She's an author of Roughing It in the Bush, the year 1852, detailing her experiences as an English immigrant settling in the Canadian wilderness. She has another book called Life in the Clearings versus the Bush, 1853. Another relative, Catherine Parr Traill, an author and a naturalist, documented early Canadian life and flora. Catherine was Susanna's sister, and Catherine's most renowned book or work is The Backwoods of Canada, 1836. This book provides insights into the challenges and experiences of early settlers. Catherine Parr Traill College, established in 1964 in Peterborough, Ontario, is named after her. I have a couple more. Susanna wrote mostly about her hardships, whereas Catherine wrote of the more positive side of life as a settler. And this is going to be something to remember a little bit later on in my talk. I have a couple more relatives I'm going to talk about here. Inspector John Douglas Moody, my great-great-grandfather, was a member of the Northwest Mounted Police, serving from 1854 to 1911. According to history, his notable contributions to Canada include commanding a detachment to Dawson City, Yukon, during the Klondike Gold Rush, establishing posts in the Eastern Arctic to assert Canadian sovereignty, and leading a contingent to the coronation of King George V in 1911. Geraldine Moody, my great-great-grandmother, was a pioneering Canadian photographer, renowned for her intimate portraits of Indigenous people, communities in the early 20th century. Her most notable work includes a series of photographs taken between 1903 and 1909 in the Arctic regions, Fullerton Harbor and Nunavut. These images are among the earliest photographs of the Arctic taken by a woman and are celebrated for their depth and cultural sensitivity. My great-great-grandmother Geraldine is in this book, and there's many books about her, but this one is 100 Canadian Heroines, and she's in this book, and I'll just put it there. There she is. Now, on my Indigenous side, I have some incredible family history as well. David Collins, also known as Namekis Trout, was an Indigenous trapper and prospector in northern Manitoba and Saskatchewan in the early 1900s. In 1915, he guided Thomas Creighton to the Creighton ore body that led to the discovery of the Flin Flon mine. The rich mineral was on David Collins' trapline. Despite David Collins's crucial role in this, he received minimal compensation and recognition. If the deposit was successful, he was promised some shares in the wealth. While he was alive, he received $6.30 worth of goods, flour, salt, etc., and he was promised some sugar. The value from the Flin Flon mine in 2015 was $14 billion. When my great-great-grandfather died, he was still talking about the sugar he was promised that he never received. Now, what does this all mean? As a Métis, John Douglas Moody and Geraldine Moody would have been my great-great-grandparents on my non-Indigenous side. This is where the disruption happens. Inspector John Douglas didn't approve of his son marrying David Collins Namekis' daughter, my great-grandmother. History tells us that John Douglas disowned his son because of this marriage. Growing up as a young girl, I would hear my parents and my grandmother talking about this, but I never cared too much about it. In my child mind, I thought it was so long ago. I was in my 50s when I was given the gift of realizing what happened in my family. As a grandmother myself, I know how my input to the family can positively impact it. The family ties, the support, the guidance, and everything that comes along with being connected and in a supportive family wouldn't be there. And for what? Race? I was picking cedar medicine the day I realized the importance of the family dynamics. I cried. The medicines have a way of healing. And I realized at that moment why I empower those little faces that look up at me, and why I believe in their ability to rise to greatness. I believe in blood memory, and something in me wants to be there to bridge culture, increase empathy, and empower those that don't always have a voice. As I grow in wisdom, I feel blessed to be Métis. I say I walk with a moccasin in one world, and I walk with a shoe in the other. I can walk this world with an understanding of both sides, and I'm able to see the injustice right in my own family and ultimately to me. I want to say that I'm a person that can take the positive out of my history, like Catherine Parr Trail, and the ability to make a connection to the Indigenous people, like my great-great-grandmother Geraldine. I also heard that Geraldine would keep the connection to her Indigenous daughter-in-law, although it was secretly. I am not like the aspect of my great-great-grandfather that disowned his family. I am a believer in people. I am me. It would be a good time to think about situations in your life where you could relate to that story. I've heard of many stories that people have shared, and I'm not alone. The next teaching I'm going to do is about respect, buffalo. Throughout history, Indigenous people have relied on the buffalo for life. all the way from the fur, the hide, the bones, the food, for use of tools and weapons and shelters. Buffalo is respect. Now, when buffalo is walking along, he might see another buffalo and he might say, I want respect. And they might lock horns, they might hit heads. And that's what buffaloes do. He wants respect. Now, we aren't buffalo, we're people. How do we get respect? We use our words, our body language. These are things that we can talk about when we're working in groups or with children or with youth. Buffalo also has another teaching that I love. Buffalo, when he sees a storm, will head straight into the storm and try and get through it. He doesn't run from that storm. He doesn't run away and have that storm chase him for days. He faces it head on, and there he goes, and he hopefully can get through it really fast. I like the teaching of buffalo, and I think of it often on my journey through life. Some of my greatest teachings have come from the mouths of babes. When I travel to schools or agencies, I present to the groups, I share puppet stories, interact with people of all ages, and usually have the groups try out the hoops, storytelling as we go through the formations. When people complete the teaching and step into the hoops, at that moment is when I can see the most change happening. They realize that, wow, this is life. This is enjoyable. This is so much more than just the hoop dance. I always say the hoop dance can be a story. Let it be a good story. As a knowledge holder, these are the teachings that I receive from the kids. The best teachings are from the children. They are innocent, honest, and from the heart. I always strive to be childlike in my teachings, as I feel less is more. I was told a teaching that the distance from the mind to the heart is the longest distance we will ever travel. But the distance from the heart to the mind is the shortest distance we will ever travel. My next teaching is about love. Eagle is considered the most sacred as he takes our prayers to the Creator. He flies high above us, reminding us that love is the greatest gift. When I'm talking to the children and the youth and the adults, I remind them that if we can't love ourselves, I say, everybody, give yourself a great big eagle hug. If we can't love ourselves, how can we love others? It starts with us. Thank you, Eagle, for your gift of love. I started my journey that I'm on while working in a home visiting support program, supporting families so they could be the best they could be. I took Nobody's Perfect facilitator training, and I always acknowledge this training as a stepping stone to who I am now as Granny Willow. I am able to use the skills that I learned in the training as I tell my stories and do my teachings. And what I mean by those skills are having a training that can incorporate many aspects of learning styles. I can pick up on cues and communicate with people better by knowing how we all learn differently as people. And there's so much more. When my children were young, one day they were asking me about who they were as people. And I thought to myself, wow, I haven't shared culture with them. And this needs to change. I signed them up for a local hoop dance class, and I remember being moved to tears when I watched them dance and when I heard the drums. I thought to myself, oh, And you guessed it, life has never been the same for me. I was called to the drum right there, and I haven't looked back. I was asked to start leading the group after a short little while, and I said, I can't do that. I can't do this teaching. And the children that were in the group said, we'll teach you. So I'm a little different. I've been taught by the children. And to me, that is the greatest gift that I could have ever received. I'm really grateful for that. I've been teaching for 25 years. And I always tell people, the more I know, the less I know. And that's true. Indigenous culture is so vast. There are over 600 distinct Indigenous nations in Canada and 70 distinct Indigenous languages, falling into 12 separate language families. I am continually learning and growing as I go along. The next teaching I'm going to talk about is wolf, humility. Wolf reminds us that we need our wolf pack for our strength. A lone wolf might be like this. He might be weak, but when he has his wolf pack of healthy communities, healthy family members, healthy schools, he can be stronger together. Humility is being able to humble ourselves so that we know that we can ask for help when we need it. It's always okay to ask for help. Thank you, Wolf, for your gift of humility. My 17 years of teaching hoop dance as a volunteer taught me the skills to take my hoop dance facilitation on the road. In the beginning, I was asked to do an in-person hoop dance teaching to Northern Saskatchewan communities. COVID hit and I couldn't travel and do face-to-face teachings. So the previous agency that I used to work for asked if I could do video teachings. And that is where my puppet teachings were born. So you never know how your life is going to turn out. I would teach the 7 sacred grandfather teachings in the hoop dance. And now I just had to put them to a puppet story. As you have been witness to some of the 7 sacred grandfather teachings in my talk, you may have noticed that the teachings are a great group of animal friends to have around. The teachings help me to lead a good life, and I'm always checking myself to see if the path that I'm on is a good one. My next teaching is Sabe, honesty. So Sabe walks along. He has his great big Sabe feet. He walks his path in life. He's all alone in the forest. And does he have to be honest? Because he's by himself. He doesn't have to be honest. But he brings us that teaching of honesty. Even though no one's around, we can still use our honesty. When he's walking his path, if he's not on the path that he likes to be on, is he able to change his path? Yes, he is. He can change his path at any time. That is the gift. You don't have to stay where you are. Thank you, Sabe, for your gift of honesty. The 7 sacred grandfather teachings can be taught in many ways and many situations. I teach the teachings in parenting facilitation groups with adults and also with children and youth in other settings. As I shared my family history, you could see that I am a walking and talking representation of the 2 sides to the stories of Canada. My non-Indigenous settler side, one of whom served in the Riel Rebellion, and the Indigenous and Métis side that experienced this part of Canadian history. As my storytelling grew, I felt that I needed to find a way to talk to kids about residential school and the effects. This storytelling was also a way for me to understand what my own family went through. When I tell the stories about residential school, I use the puppet Everest to represent a child. We discuss how Everest's name wouldn't be used. He was only a number. And Everest asks how his parents would know him. Before I talk about residential schools, I do the work ahead of time. I go and I visit as many residential schools as I can, or the residential school grounds if the residential schools aren't there any longer. I make the time to honor the people that have gone on before me and have been victims, survivors, and I take the time to really reflect on it and how it has affected my life.
So, Everest, I'm going to begin by asking you, what is your name? Hi, everyone. My name is Everest, and I'm named after Mount Everest because my mom and dad wanted me to be big and strong like a mountain. Wow, Everest, that's wonderful. What a beautiful name. Everest, did you know that in residential schools, your name would have been taken away? I'm sorry, Everest. You would have been given a number. That makes me sad, Granny Willow. I know, it makes me sad too. I'm sorry, Everest. That's okay, Granny Willow. You didn't do that to me. No, I know I didn't do it to you, Everest, but it still makes me sad. Everest, can you tell me about your beautiful hair? I can. My mom braids my hair, Granny Willow. Oh, what does she do with your hair? She tells me that it's my mind, my body, and my soul. Your mind, your body, and your soul. That's so beautiful, Everest. It's my strength. Your strength. So strong. Oh, Everest, did you know that in residential school, they would have cut off your braids? No! I know. That's my strength. Why, Granny Willow? Everest, I don't think they wanted Indigenous people to be strong. I know. I'm sorry, Everest. I'm sorry. Muskwa! Muskwa? What is that? What is it? Bear! You know some language. I do. Oh, Everest, I'm so happy that you know some language. Did you know that in residential schools, the kids wouldn't be able to speak their language? But Granny Willow, how would they be able to speak to their parents when they came home? I don't know, Everest. I don't know. I know. Your traditional clothing, Everest. It's beautiful. Your moccasins. Oh, my Kukum made me those. Your Kukum? That means Grandma. Oh, Everest, they're beautiful. Your medicine bag. Oh, Everest, they're beautiful clothing. You have beautiful clothing. Everest, in residential schools, you wouldn't be able to wear your traditional clothing. But Granny Willow, it means so much to me. And my Kukum. Oh, I know, Everest, I know. I'm so sorry. Oh, what are you doing, Everest? What are you doing? I'm dancing. Oh, are you a hoop dancer? You are. Oh, Everest. I love to hoop dance. I do too. It's when my people are the most happy. Oh, traditional dance and powwow and gathering. It wouldn't be allowed, Everest. Oh, I know, Everest, I know. So much was taken away. Granny Willow, why do you care so much about residential school? Well, Everest, my grandmother attended residential school. And I never want anything like that to happen again. Everything about you, Everest, I love so much. And I want to protect that. Yeah. Granny Willow, do you remember what that little boy said when we were talking in the schools? I do. I remember he said, Everest, that'll never happen again. Yeah, he did. He was strong, wasn't he, Everest? And I remember when the little girl said, my granny couldn't love my nanny, and my nanny couldn't love my mom. But my mom loved me, and then we taught my nanny how to love me too. And those are the lasting effects of residential school, Everest. And that's why it's important to talk about our Canadian history so it doesn't happen again. And Granny Willow, we're still standing, right? Oh, we are. We're still standing. And we're going to be stronger and stronger. Yep. I hope that you liked our story, everyone. And I hope that you can be part of the change and part of listening to our history's truth and part of the reconciliation.
After Everest asks why I care so much, I say, because my granny went to residential school. My granny gave her statement at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, along with 6,750 survivors. After I talk about the residential school, I talk about how we, as Indigenous people, are still standing. I talk about the strengths that I see when I work with children, youth, and adults in community. I see the Indigenous professionals at work in the communities, and I see the allies that are non-Indigenous working to support Indigenous people. I see the helpers, the change makers. I see drum groups starting up. I see songs being sang. The work with Truth and Reconciliation is going strong. I see the language starting to reemerge. I see my dancers and the students that I work with knowing that they can take their teachings and they can change their life trajectory and the lives of others. I see the light that shines bright. The latest work that I've done with the Nobody's Perfect parenting group, incorporating Indigenous content into parenting facilitation, has been nice to see from a person with Indigenous heritage. The flexibility of the parenting program allows people to brainstorm ways that they can include Indigenous content into their parenting groups. The ideas are their own, not given to them in a curriculum. And as I'm facilitating the program, I see the looks on the participants' faces, and I can see the feeling of inclusion. I've read the evaluations from people, and many evaluations have similar connotations. Feeling valued and respected is so important when working with families. We're all on the circle together. The circle. In my Indigenous teachings, our teachings are circular. We are as strong as the weakest person. We are made stronger together. The hoop dance is known as a healing dance, offering thanks to the Creator for allowing us to live on this earth with the plants, the animals, and the insects. And in the circle teaching, I am no better than the insect. We are equal and we respect all aspects of the circle. The medicine wheel, or the sacred circle teaching, is a teaching about harmony and balance. I've been dancing the medicine wheel with my kids for almost 25 years. And I tell the kids that I work with that if we focus all of our energy in one area of the medicine wheel, the other quadrants have to do extra work. And we become out of balance. And the idea is to work on balancing our lives, to be in harmony. I tell the story about the circle of life. We have our stages of life, We are born infant, we're a child, we're an adult, we're a grandparent. We die, but life continues on after us in the circle of life. On our medicine wheel or our sacred hoop, we have our directions. We have the east, the south, the west, and the north. We have our states of being, our spiritual side, our emotional, physical, and mental sides. We have the 4 elements: fire, earth, water, and air. We have the seasons: spring in the eastern direction, summer in the southern direction, fall in the western direction, and winter in the northern direction. We have the sacred medicines. We have tobacco in the east, where the sun rises, sweetgrass in the south. Some people put sage in that direction. The hair of Mother Earth is the sweetgrass, and the cedar is in the northern direction. When we realize that everything we do in life can fit into the medicine wheel, it kind of changes our perspective, and it becomes easier, even if we want to incorporate traditional teachings in parenting groups. So some of the ways that I incorporate the medicine wheel into parenting groups are just basically simple ways. I'll hold pictures of nature, and I'll say, where would that fit in the medicine wheel? And I'll have a medicine wheel behind me, and that would be in earth. If it's snowy, it would be in the winter part of the medicine wheel. So anything that we might do outside in the winter, we're being part of the circle of life. We're part of the medicine wheel. We're part of the sacred hoop. Some people think that maybe that's a little bit too simple of a way to look at it. But like I said, I follow the ways of children, and this is how children would be able to relate to it. And I can relate to it this way too. Snow. So that might be on the top part of the medicine wheel up there, the white, the sun picture, that would be over here where the sun rises in the east. The drumming and the singing, what might that be? What part of the medicine wheel would that be? For my thoughts, it might be on the spiritual side, but then it's also emotion. It could be physical. You're physically doing that. This is a picture of a mirror. So it's, where do you fit into the medicine wheel? This is water. Where's the water? The water is over here on the medicine wheel. These are seeds planting. Oh, you can't even see them. They're pumpkin seeds. So that would be the earth. This is a flower. Where would that be? That's on the earth portion. I've got some dancers. That's physical, but you know what? It could be spiritual, mental, because you're doing things for your mind, your body, and your soul. You can also use different ways of teaching the medicine wheel. Some of the things I do are, there's a woman, where would she be on the medicine wheel? I have little animals, same idea. Where would they fit in? Where do you fit in the medicine wheel? Babies, children, adults, grandparents, where do you fit in? So I feel like I have an opportunity to help educate. I feel like I'm able to bring knowledge to people that may not know the history of Canada. And in the way that I do my teachings, I feel that it's a gentle approach, and it's more of the circle teaching where you can have the knowledge and you can make your own decision. And that is what it's all about. You know, we didn't learn about all of this in history books, and now's the time that we have the opportunity to share as part of Truth and Reconciliation. So I'd like to say thank you today. Before I go though, just a little shout out. I use a lot of stories from Indigenous reflections, and in so doing, I'm honoring Indigenous authors and our wise ones. So thank you very much. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Granny Willow, for taking us on this sacred journey with you. Your stories and your teachings are powerful and offer so many insights and opportunities for people to reflect on their own life journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.